This here is the old Oso House Hotel. This was formerly a camp built by John Fremont, General John Fremont to you, near his Mariposa Mining Company operation, because of course generals own mines everywhere. It also housed the first Wells Fargo office, so it's not like the military's ever been involved in anything like financing. Or at first glance, you see a building back here, right? But what are these walls? Like, what is this? What is this? Side by side don't even look right. This log cabin-ish thing, and then this. Two different eras. I mean, hey, why you leaning on your rake, boy? Put your back into it. If you want supper, that is. All them lazy-ass orphans just arrived, and man, it's like you gotta just stand over them with a whip. Figuratively, I mean, I would never beat a child or anything like that. Isn't it time for you to leave? Coulterville, maybe 200 people that live there. The rumor has it that George Coulter himself set up a blue tent and opened up a trading post here in 1850. And Mexican huts gave way to more substantial buildings when the Americans moved in. Of course, we did it. Coulterville remained one of the most favored routes into Yosemite Valley until the railroad was built. Sadly, the town has been visited curious choice of words, by several fires. Just paying them a visit, But many of the ruins remain. Town still retains much of its gold rush charm. This is from my book. This is the Hornitos Hotel. I don't think it's very popular. What they don't tell you about this Hornitos Hotel here in the brochure is right next door, something bad happened. Now, we don't know what or when, but, clearly, fire or something came through here and messed everything up. Hell, we don't know. Hell, you don't know. Gerard Ellie's store in Hornitos. And sadly, I don't think they're making chocolate here anymore. I know, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. You've been waiting in line for hours, I can tell, for them to open. Use this in IOOF Hall. There it is. A penny drops. IOOF meaning the International Order of Odd Fellows. Bedfellows, basically. Our buddies from the Freemasons. Aw, no fire. How come there ain't no more chocolate for me? Tell you what, you boys either hand over all the chocolate you got, or you get the fuck up my back for it, if I come out here with that shotgun. You don't gotta tell me twice, buddy. Not afraid of your shotgun. I just don't like making old people mad. Leave old people alone, if that's enough. Shit, the world is disintegrating faster than they could have imagined. Brick, busted, a fandango dance hall, this is called? I don't know. And here's the county courthouse in Mariposa, looking much more reasonable, except for the wide out sky, which is kind of strange, and this all castle-looking thing. What's going on here? Is this really necessary for every courthouse? Old busted-out, boring-ass buildings and dumps. This is what's historical around this area. So this is called the Chinese Adobe Mormon Bar. How that sentence is even strung together, I don't even understand. But apparently this was a popular stopping place for Mormons and Chinese and Russians and anyone who came through here at the time, which apparently was everyone. This is a little hotel in Yosemite Village, built in 1876. Simplified Greek revival. Sadly destroyed in the 1960s. As all good things must be burned to the ground in mysterious fires. This is how it looked at one point when we had stagecoaches, but somehow cameras. It's a true tragedy. This is part of Mendocino County. This is actually Mendocino. This used to be Main Street. Now it's Lansing Street. Strange little ghost town, and suddenly you got this thing, which is a little bizarre. See, there's a little bit of this old tech. You get here and you realize they've just filled this thing in. It looks like covered in slats and painted it all white. Look at where the door's sitting. Pretty high off the ground there. Sculpture on the top is bizarre. This angel with a sky is holding this girl's pigtails? What the hell is that? And they bricked up this thing, which is, but what is happening here? And this pillar falling? I don't even know what to make of that thing. But this is the Masonic Lodge. Looks kind of dumpy from the outside, but inside, wowie wowie, what is this? Look at that crown molding. My God. Masonic symbols. And I'd like to point out the oddly recessed floor. Why have a recessed floor? What's the point of this? Unless at one point in life, this was a small, shallow pool which contained water. And then maybe the energy or whatever it was pulled up and blown out past all the columns. Maybe they work like grills and air conditioning. And maybe, since there's some form of energetic derived from the water in these columns, maybe it emanates out from this building. And that's why there's one of these in every city. I don't know. But I've talked about this before, but this recessed pool, it definitely does a lot to support that theory. What the hell is that? And they're just placed strangely. Like one's up here, one's down here. Looks like they were taken from somewhere else. And actually, look, this building entirely looks like it's flipped inside out. And they've sort of bricked it all in. Look at the detail in that. You got more value and detail in the top of this column than you do in the rest of the entire fucking town. That's the outside of it, and that's the detail on one of the columns inside. These bricks look like they're just made of hay. I know they use hay as a binding agent, and oh fuck, someone found my frickin' stash. Damn it! Looks like they found all of our stashes, boys. We've been played like a fiddle. Somebody's gonna pay for this. Let me in, bitch. Where is it?
Where'd you get this nice screen, huh? That doesn't match these walls. Rustic walls? Nice screen? Who are these guys? What do they know? Well, where is it? What? How dare you speak to the narrator like that?
What the hell's this doing here? When your homes look like this, I mean, your house looks like that, but the gravestone. And what the hell's down there? Really a strange place to just build a city, isn't it? What made you stop here?
Who just decided to stop and said, you know what? I ain't going another step. This is far enough. We ain't going no further. Damn it. All right. We're going to build a town that'll last 1,000 years. Well, a few years. I think this is actually Bodie. Is it Bodie? They want you to say it like that. Bodie. And it is a ghost town, except for this little museum, which they've gathered probably everything ever left behind. Not much of a town, really. But, what the fuck is that? A little miniature of the town? That begs the question, are a lot of these possibly fakes? Or, wait, that's not a miniature. That's a friggin' reflection! God damn it! No, you think that's funny, do you? Let's go to this town. Everybody just go to freaking heck. Whoa, what is that? Hubba. My God, you're the sexiest thing I've seen in this town. And really, though, what is this doing here? This will last the test of time. This is how they used to make furnaces? My God. This is so out of place. Some amazing Second Empire stuff, and how cool is that? And he's a cute little guy. Look at him. Oh, dude, I think I made him mad. I'm sorry, Furnace. Talk to me, please. No! I don't want to. Maybe the worst animation of all time. Nice little thingies there. Whatever they're called. Mystery orbs. I don't think I've ever admired a rocking chair before, but the detail on that is to be commended. We gotta get out of here like before the sun goes down, Scoob! Bye. Fuck. I read about that little furnace. Yes, I did my homework, and now he lives somewhere in Woodbridge? Woodbridge, I don't know. They took it out of here. They took everything out of here, because this place is gone. It's okay, Jimmy. It's okay, Jamie. We'll build another town. Get up now, we gotta go. Mom said the mushrooms are ready.
The way these are sort of spread out along the hills, like, man, it almost looks like, and this is probably just my imagination going wild, but it almost looks like these houses were carried here by a river or something. The way they're sort of like just really unevenly spread, and some of them are missing all of it, and they look sort of just cobbled together. Like, I understand it's an abandoned town, but how does this make sense? And I know that's not the case because, well, if anything, maybe they dug them up because, I mean, mountains of dirt around them. But this facade, and next to this wooden one, it just makes no sense. Half of these are warped-ass old wood, like this. This bad boy's not long for this world. Many historical documents and mementos of this time period in Bodie can be found inside the museum. Portraits of people, paintings by the rival women, mining records, the undertaker's hearses, household items, the first motor ever to be operated by electricity, all here in Bodie. Makes no sense. A still standing brick structure with an ornate door, right next to some sort of a pieced together stone cottage, right next to a wooden miner's cabin. You have what seems to me like the story of devolution. The wood of that door is made of better material than these homes. How can you tell? It looks straighter than hail. And there, right there, at least I warped. And where the fuck did these trees come from anyway? And the bricks. Like, who builds it? It's just such a strange place to have a city. I mean, this one, they took time to do these fancy fish scales. That tells me everything. Apparently, the hobbits that lived over here. What is this, electric pole? And then in this era, so you had to draw it, but there's electricity. This haystack has an antenna. None of this makes sense. Mate, hey, Jennifer home? Terry, come on down. We're going for a joyride. Peter borrowed his dad's car. Well, that was the last time any of those children were ever seen again. I do a lot of obviously reckless speculation and creating lots more questions than answers. And I imagine that I'll continue to do that because I don't know anything. I only know that I'm confused by what I see. This story like America and our lives, if it's anything like fiction, which your knee-jerk response would be like, duh, it's not, that's fiction. But it seems to me like fiction is becoming more and more like the truth every day. It's this trope that commonly occurs in fiction. And you have a formidable force. It has yet to declare a side, or it has yet to make a stance. And it's always sort of on the main, picturing like a story with like some sort of court intrigue or political machinations, Game of Thrones type scenario. A powerful force that has yet to toss its hat really in the ring. It has yet to really make its move, and it's always kind of ever present on people's minds until it fades away. And sometimes often this force, or this entity, or whatever it is, it bides its time, and yet sometime towards the end, it declares itself. It casts its lot, and usually it's a surprise and a decisive factor. If this story of America, of the world, but more importantly, the American chapter in it, because I've been to Europe and I've been to some of these places, I can say that something feels off with Europeans' history, but it really, really feels off here, because the ruins here are the same as in Europe. The symbolism's the same, everything's the same. It's just we're told they're thousands of years apart. And that's the part where it don't click. Eat your food, Tina. If there is a force or a body of people, an unknown that could be potentially a surprise contestant in this battle. Hey, Victor, let's go, man. Hold on, doing texting my girlfriend. Then I believe that could be the people who know most about this. Can I stop here and say this is the worst map ever? Orchard and church. There's no point in even drawing this map. Not excavated, not excavated, not excavated. Interesting. Excavated, huh? In 1921. Well, how about that? Removed for road material. Excellent. What's it saying here? The altar. Yeah, it was altered. More like altered. You know what I'm saying? Who I'm referring to is the Native Americans, the American Indians in the background. Marginalized and subdued and really diminished and defeated as a people. And I don't say this to be derogatory. Nice statues here. Just a couple of lawn ornaments, yeah. It's really hard to speak on this subject without offending someone. Fear of offending someone. Maybe against my better judgment. Damn, this bad boy just like gets smashed. I'm going to attempt. The Native Americans are the biggest X factor. Some of the knowledge has to exist. I have a very small portion of Cherokee in me. Now, I don't use this like Elizabeth Warren, try to get some sort of compensation that I'm not owed. I don't tell you this for that reason. I don't try to flaunt this at all. I only speak of it in the context of that I wish somehow I could leverage that, I think that's a bad choice of words, into some conversations with some of these older folks while they are still around. I've talked to some Native Americans here that have told me they were taken out and spent a camping trip with a grandfather or whatever and told all the stories, the stories of their tribe. And they had to stay out there until they could repeat them back without writing anything down, repeat them back until they got it right. And it was very important to them. Now that might have seemed at one point in my life like, that's stupid. Write it down, right? As if we're not seeing the dangers of that right now. They're about to put their checkmate on this stuff. When you look at even for old books, usually they're a digitized copy. And you can search for text. And even if it's handwritten, you can find text in these digital books. So really, they could be searching, powers that be, hey, all these millions of digitized books. They're not for our convenience. That's so a computer can find any mention of certain things and stamp it out. Delete the page off the internet, delete the passages, or rewrite them. I mean, who has copies of old books anymore? Very few people have actual handwritten copies of these old books. They've all been digitized. Now we just trust the digital version. And since this private company went around and started scanning all these books and just no one told them no, the truth is we know the CIA is behind all this. Same with the satellite photography and the street view and all this stuff that they said they were doing. Don't be evil. When they removed it from it as their motto then. You know what's up. How do you explain that? That was our motto, now it's not. The logical inference would be that you decided at some point to be evil. I mean, what else could you take away from that? I would like to be the fly on the wall for that meeting. Well, we feel like it no longer applies to us. We're fucking evil. I'm afraid we're going to have to change our motto somehow. We're going to go to hell, but I don't want to go to hell as a liar. You know what I mean? Like, not another company anyway. The point is that they're about to checkmate all this stuff. They have the power to do it. You can see it now. Before, they just had fire and Jesuit priests rewriting the history of these places, all of them. And so it seems like if you want to keep your history, you do what the Native Americans have been doing all along, and that's you tell it orally. I have even had conversations with people who thinking about being parents, and they're like, I don't trust these fucking schools. I'm going to just have to tell my kids everything. Hope that they believe me. And we're really getting back to that point. These resets are not so removed from us as we think. Native Americans, the only ones that could know would be them. When I see Native American villages, there was 60 million of them at least. Reduced down to, 4 million? They're defeated people. I don't mean in a derogatory way. I mean, they have been defeated in many ways. They act as if they're conquered people, marginalized to these areas of town where no one goes, where it's desolate, and people are told, don't go out there on the reservation. Why? They can do whatever they want to out there. They exist outside the law. Whether or not that's true, I don't know, but it certainly keeps people away. Everything's a sacred area, right? You're not afraid they're going to fuck up their holy land. It's thousands and thousands of miles of desert out here. It's not all sacred. That's just a deterrent. Keep them isolated, to keep us away. Is my own opinion, of course. Now, I have listened to an NPR show. This is before I knew how diabolical that taxpayer-funded National Public Radio. It was a show, and it was about how they subdued and domesticated the silver fox. People used to wear, the women, it was popular, all the rage, and how they did it was simple. According to this, capture them, you breed them, and you have a few weeks into a few months, maybe into their life. They're paid a visit by a certain man who would approach them with an outstretched palm. And if they snarled, or snapped, or bit, or showed any fight, kill it. If it was docile, afraid, even friendly, let it live. Do that to all of them. Breed them one more time. And by the second generation of doing that, they were just breeding nothing but docile, friendly foxes. And it was done. It was over. 2 generations. Now, do you think we're that much different? Do you think people somewhere out there weren't scratching their heads and taking notes on this? So what I'm talking about is the defeat of a people where you roll in and you say, well, more of us than you. You guys seem scattered into little tribes, and this is the new way. This is what you're going to do. You're going to stop being nomads. You're going to move into these cities. You're going to help us build them. This is your new history. This is your new God. These are your new rules. At first, they might try to go along with some of it, try to get along peacefully. After it became obvious that that wasn't going to be the case, by then it was too late. They've been isolated and contained and played off each other. Who knows what kind of manipulations that were done? We really should learn from this. They are our brothers. They're our people. They're the human race. When I look at that, I see all people's future. The ones with fight, the ones who dare to speak out, stand their ground and say, no, fuck that. It's not our history. Kill it. Anybody else got any questions? Anybody else got any fight? You? Kill them. Stamp them out. The ones that are afraid, weak, go along with it. The ones that you trick with alcohol and all sorts of other vices. The ones that you get to betray the rest of them. Put on these clothes. Do this dance at the World's Fairs while we funnel millions and millions of people in here to indoctrinate everybody. We activate the Hollywood machine, the media machine, stories about the wild, wild west, which it clearly wasn't really that wild, wild west. Like it wasn't all like this, was it? A lot of it's big-ass mansions and this and that, skyscrapers, the whole works. They were no different from us. Cowboys and Indians, that was a myth. Very isolated areas, played up and pumped out until it becomes an integral part of our alleged history. Let's say that some sort of event were to befall here. What would happen? What would you do? You'd survive. And when the dust sort of settled, you'd pick yourself up, gather whatever you could around you, whatever people, form like-minded tribes, and you would try to rebuild some semblance of what you had. Now, maybe you couldn't rebuild a power grid big enough to sustain the United States, but you knew a little bit about electricity, and this other guy knew a little bit about this other guy knew a little bit about that, and you were able to cobble together some crude imitation of what you had before and get by. Now, what I've just done is explain to you why some of these buildings that we see are of shoddier work than some of the others. Because that's naturally what would happen if there was a wipeout and you were trying to rebuild, say, a power station, rebuild an antenna. You don't have the vast resources of a massive society at your disposal. You would work in some way. You would learn how to do things differently out of necessity. Might not be as fancy. Might not be as fine, but it works. Some establishing villages, large nations, and confederacies, some of them very nomadic, just preferring to keep to themselves and stay up in the hills because they don't trust anybody anymore, and they want to do their thing and move quietly, have tents, and have enough capability that they know how to weave fantastically intricate blankets and clothing, that they know how to dig hundreds and hundreds of miles of complex aqueducts and irrigation, without which we wouldn't even have some of these cities. And that's probably how it was when they were found. When whatever happened, there were survivors. And these survivors remembered some of the empire. And a bunch of them came here and found tribes of people that were still doing what they'd been doing. And there was kind of a blending. So you have Native American tribes, and then you have some of these survivors from this old empire. And they're coexisting. And their history is oral. It's not written down. It's not scratched into rocks like this dumb shit they find and they say, look at this. That's graffiti, man. You ever been to an empty city or a ruined city? What do you see on the walls? Do you see, well, here, before we abandon this city, I'm going to write the entire manifesto, and we're going to write what our gods are and what our principles are on the wall here in caricatures before we leave. Does that sound like what would happen? Or just random doodles and graffiti? I mean, people are people. Look at the world around you, and then you apply that to the past, and you see that it makes much more sense that way. For them to be looking out here in this desert rock, we found this scribbling of this guy and this sun and a swirl, and this proves that they believe in this guy. It's like, it proves nothing. For all we know, you drew that shit yourself. I would love the last straw that lands on the camel's back and breaks this machine for it to come from the Native Americans. But will it ever work out? I don't know. But I'm just putting that thought out there. That desire for there to be something to come forward and connect the dots here in some meaningful fashion. I think the fact that a lot of them seem to have a genetic predisposition to negative effects to alcohol, not that we all don't, of course we all do, but that seems particularly nefarious and effective, which makes you wonder, how did this happen? When these breweries are these oldest buildings, back in the 1800s, and monks, it's always these fucking monks that are making wine. Oh, don't mind us, we're living out here in the hills, just a bunch of bald dudes sweeping our cells every day and writing down history, because we care so much about this world. We don't really want to be a part of it. It's for you all. We don't want to participate in any of that stuff. So don't mind us in this old temple out here, and slowly, faithfully transcribe all the bits of your history for you. How kind. How sweet of them. Oh, while we're at it, we just invented some beer and wine. Oh, really? Thank you so much. I'm sure no one will ever get hurt or die because of this or make bad decisions. Thank you, monks, for setting us all on the right path. You wonderful, wonderful men. The origins of these fraternities, these all male. And yeah, we know you're not interested in having sex with female adults.
We understand it's children that you want, and little boys primarily, so we get it, man, we get it. You monks really are amazing, and thank you so much for all that you've done for humanity. How could we ever forgive you? Look what we found, an old ruin. Maybe it's a lime kiln. I mean, look at this, is a person right here? It's a big-ass opening. No, it's not a person. There's a person, though. Tell you what, freeze, motherfucker. You know too much. This is inland California and all its beauty. 1888. Ah, very well. Great Masonic number here, and all of these Teachers Institute. What a bunch of nasty Here's where we caught and hung the first wizard of this area. Jasper, get your lighter off of there. Yeah, just in case you forgot. We'll remind you as you go upstairs. This here be a prison. We literally lock up all you dipshits that think there's something else going on. This is Monterey in the 60s. Casa Alvarado is our little ball friends again, as in every fireplace ever in this era. And very interesting original doors. The old Stafford pattern. Got some Pennsylvanians that must have migrated here. You know what? It's fine if you move here. Leave your politics and your window smashing at home. Thanks. That old spiky sconce giveaway. Oh, even in little places like this, you got this telltale sort of grid stuff. You know, it's not the greatest Airbnb we've ever stayed at. It's got, got some problems. Some little rough patches here, Oh, guys, look at CB. Oh, my God. This must be the people that lived here. This must be who they worshipped. This must be the secrets of their society. And look, here. Look, this here proves that they used to eat nachos. It says right here, nachos. Oh, said the bespectacled building. Oh, my. Such surprise. I wasn't expecting you. Get the fuck out of here. All right. You didn't have to be so rude. The houses are alive. As we stroll down the white picket fences of America. Where the F is it, Jimmy? Everyone needs a straw man engineer assistant that you can verbally berate when things don't go as planned. Jimmy, damn it, I told you days ago. Never mind. Just stay over there. Is this working now? Yeah, dude. Want to make sure my air maker's still making them arrows. What would I do without him? How would I do things like point out the ruins, designate where the floor is? This is the lumber mill in Elk. Things like that. And now, Mildred, before we go inside, all right? Now, the boys, it looks like they did have a party, okay? Now, I don't want you to... Mildred, get back here! Oh, fuck. Oh, my God, what happened in here? Well, they took a few things, that's true. They broke a few things. That's also true. But, could be worse. I mean, they did leave this jacket here. And there might be some Carlos Rossi listen that handle. First item of note. Lime kilns. We've seen these before. No. We've seen other ruins that they just declared that were lime kilns before. Those were the ones by Big Sur. These are just off the interstate. And they are... I don't know if they're lime kilns or not. They got trees going on the top of them. This one looks like a lower jaw of teeth, actually. I mean, I know it's not, right? I don't know anything, but I guess it's not. Doesn't, it's like teeth. You know what I mean? Track record, which, is pretty much 99.9% bullshit. Now, this is a really high-resolution photography. You can really see the detail in the thumbtack. I wasn't being sarcastic. God, it's hanging on a wall, clearly. The levitating pillars. Shh, be quiet. You don't wake them up. Wake you up. Great, now you've done it. Let's get the f*** out of here, dude. And that is a useful map. Boy, if there's ever a useful map, it's this one. They show you these drawings here. Like, oh, it's just so rustic and, just nothing going on here. But just, well, there's a bowling alley. But also then it's like, that sure seems fancy. This is the oldest, older than even the Sacramento courthouse in the Greek revival era, which you all remember so well. The last remnant of it. And they claim that Marin County has suffered more in the way of damage of historic buildings than any other county in the state, which I'm like, San Francisco might have some thoughts on that. But anyway, that's the claim. This building was built by two random architects who got off the boat during the gold rush and won a competition, of course. And they used it as a courthouse until around 1966. And those new architects obviously had vertigo because that ain't exactly level. Unless, of course, something else happened. I don't know. I'm fresh out of ideas. Anyone else have any thoughts on that? This building, what we did is we deconstructed one of those car washes that you drive through, and that's where you see this on the roof here. These sort of floppy, and Jimmy added the middle finger here coming out of the roof, flipping the world off. He thought it was a nice touch. I thought it was a little classless. This is not a stupa from Thailand. Not the grandest, but considered to be the most amazing old mission from the Spanish colonial revival era that you all know so well. And this is pictured here a number of times, not always with this shady entourage of people in here, but sometimes, but always with various stages of ruin around it. No matter what era, I mean, I don't know what's going on here, but it seems to be built of hardier material than anything else, because it stays on and on till the break of a dawn. Allegedly built in 1790, was already ruined in 1834, was in ruins, and they began the restoration process, which kind of finally culminated in like 1924. I mean, it was ruins. I mean, there were trees growing inside of it. Not massive trees, but trees nonetheless. I don't know what this was originally made out of, but whatever it is, if you guys built this and you're so confident that you did, then why didn't you build the rest of the place like it? Which literally has collapsed and crumbled like, what, a dozen times? I mean, look at the difference. Why would you make this out of different materials? You wouldn't. If you were to find this in Turkey today, they'd be like, well, let's look at the chronology. Yeah, we're going to put this. We found an old civilization like from the 2nd or 3rd century. Look at this one we found in California. Oh, that? 1700. It's all about the context. There's no such thing as ancient. Ancient, meaning like, it ain't shit to do with the truth. Yeah, that was really bad. Well, whatever. We'll replay it later, and if it's funny, we'll keep it. If not, we'll keep it. Here's the trees, the terrarium, the indoor garden. We were just trying to make a greenhouse, Ma. Your greenhouse sucks, boys. Clean this place up. And no telling what's down there, but I think they're sending this guy there as punishment. Long may he live. But probably not. Interesting choice of bland decor. And not sure why we're going to tile the floor and then do all this insane construction to just mess it all up. But yeah, this is our history. This is what we're told. This is truth. And, you better accept it or you'll be a pariah. You'll be cast out of society. Eat your food, Tina. Ignore those ruins. Look at the majestic things we did build. Come on, Pedro, let's go. Hold on, wait, Dixie, my girlfriend. Another exceptional map. God, what would we do without you? So if I'm here, the orchard, you say that the church building is here. Are you sure? Look again, because I want to be sure. I'm here. This is an aqueduct, as you can tell, a Roman aqueduct from the Oh, wait, I'm sorry, where are we? Oh, in California? No, never mind, that's nothing. The site of the original Taco Bell. Yeah, can I get a double-decker and some of that Dorito taco stuff that you guys do? How about a Mexi Melt or Pintos and cheese? That's a musty reference. They even make Pintos and cheese anymore? I've been at Taco Bell since, I think, the Triassic era, maybe? It's hard to say. My water clocks don't go back that far. And yeah, a lot of this just looking like giant things fell from the sky on top of it. Not very interesting. Yeah, it's ancient, though. I mean, it looks like every other ancient ruin. I'm just supposed to accept it's only a couple hundred years old. Well, I don't accept that. I accept that to be preposterous. I accept that something else happened here. If only I could just find a way to speak with someone who's around at the time, but they're all dead. And what's down there, Bradley? What is down there? Turns out Bradley wasn't lying. There really is nothing down here. Except for this giant pterodactyl, who did not look happy to see me. Ooh, disturb my slumber. You know, I just realized that sombreros look like they have domes on them. How about that? You guys got matching hats. Got this one right here. See? Little band. And you got this one right here. Yay! You guys are twinsies. Oh, dude, I didn't even draw this one. Look at it. The eyes really are real. He's like, brr, 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 brr. You again. Oh! He's got one eye from the war. Fall back. Fall back. I don't know why that never gets old. Even this guy's in on it, dude. They're all screaming houses. The Cyclops guy. He's just yelling, his tongue's out of his mouth like, bleh. They're all alive. This guy's little mouth's a little bit speechless. Ron, do something. What? Okay, way too much nonsense here. Oh my god, I can't stop seeing it. They're all alive. Get him. I have a better idea. You go in there, and why don't you just go ahead and don't worry, like there's no humans gonna have any part to play or hear anything. The words go straight to the Lord. You just tell him everything, and nothing will ever come back to haunt you. You'll never get burned alive or nothing. There'll never be an inquisition or nothing like that. It's a process where the preacher's ears literally turn into a conduit just right up to heaven. The preacher isn't even aware anyone's talking to him. Would you buy that? Garrett realized he'd gone too far, and the rest of the cab ride was maintained in an awkward silence. The end. Finally, you guys made it. God damn, dude. We're sitting out here all day. A prison. Don't mess about, or you'll be in there too, jerky. Noted, sire. Also of note. Balls. Little balls. Little balls everywhere. Hey, Frank, you pissing on that wall? Bessie realized the farmer wasn't coming back. They'd forgotten her. She died that morning. Sad story. Not as sad as what happened to this part of this house, though. You know, it was so promising. And then before you walked down the street, you realized something ain't right. Not all buildings are made equal, as it turns out. Some are made quite unequal. Some of them are just piles of dumpiness. Some of them never stood a chance. Those buildings we like to call modern American buildings. Oh, well. And what are you boys up to, eh? No, don't burn us. Damn it, they got a mustache too. Fort Mason. Yeah, hell of a fort. This sadly was a Spanish Revival colonial-style building. It was cut in half and used as a car dealership, basically, and I believe it's gone now. It was scheduled for it to be demolished in 1964. They're going to put a freeway through there. Designed by, of course, a local architect who won a competition, as usual. And the only reason it's even worth pointing out is because you could see how they hide this stuff now, how they keep some of the bones of it, even the checkered floor. I think that it's a little important sometimes to take a quick jaunt to those little ghost towns so that when you see other properties or buildings that were constructed allegedly during the same era, how preposterous it seems. I mean, Bowdy and Coltonville and all those other mining towns, they look like old mining towns. There's no mystery there. That looks like something that could have happened during the gold rush. The problem is when you get to something like a San Francisco, that's when really, which is allegedly established at the same time by the same people, literally the same people. You know, it just gets a little wonky. And you just gotta squint suspiciously sometimes and look at it and say, you know, I'm not sure if I'm buying that. And then you look at the track record of who you're dealing with and it's like, oh, those guys told you that, huh? I don't want to get thrown off of here, although I'm sure it'll happen in time, but might as well stave off the imminent for as long as possible. That's the very idea of resistance. And luckily, I opted to do this platform. The idea is for people to see it. That is the idea. I don't care if it's 10 people, 5 people, 2 people. And I appear to have somehow, in my wake, pulled in some very friendly and very kind fellow YouTubers that have offered some encouragement and some input, and I value that very much. It really makes it all worthwhile. So I'm eternally grateful for those very kind comments that I have seen the last week or so. It's one of those things where you don't really think that you would care, but it's just enough encouragement to kind of make it worthwhile, I suppose, and keep it going. So for that, friends, I thank you, sincerely. Anyway, here we are again. This is the Latham Building in Sacramento. Built by Milton Latham, lawyer, district attorney, congressional representative, governor of California, and U.S. senator. This building, we are told, is a 3-story building that was built with living quarters for the Latham family in the upper quarters until 1864. Rebuilt in the 1880s, and the floor heights were reduced to allow for 4 stories. Demolished in 1965. Now, a bit more about this here property. It was only used here as the governor's mansion for about a month before they were moved. The senator was moved to San Francisco. The building was resurrected in 1855. In the 1880s, they rebuilt the facade. They simplified the facade. Early views indicate that the facade of the original 3-story portion was quite elaborate, with an ornate bracketed classical cornicing. The arched windows of the 2 upper floors were enhanced with projecting decorative beads and ornamental balcony railings, of which very little is left now. In this picture, which is 1964. Other interesting portions of the review are that it's of sound structure. Brick, load-bearing walls, the whole thing made of brick with cast iron columns. The doorways are wooden and not original. The original facade and cornices were made of brick. Current ones are made of wood. Also says, in a funny little blip, that the space under the sidewalk has brick walls and piers with cast iron beams, supporting brick vaulting. The space under the sidewalk has brick walls and brick vaulting. Not really calling that a basement, are they? Under the sidewalk. And if it's such a sound structure in 1964, why was it demolished in 1965? Riddle me that, California. This was built in 1852, a 1-story brick structure with 3 round arched openings, as you can see by the pictures. Sound structure, basement, and 1 story, it says. Interesting. Now for the back of it. Not looking so sound there, is it? A Stein building, 1 story and a basement, erected in 1853. Occupied by Mr. Stein, and then used as the Elkus store. Demolished 1 year after this survey took place in 1965. Sacramento. All these buildings side by side by side. This one allegedly erected in 1852 by Mr. E.P. Figg, a pioneer wholesale merchant. After the major fire in 1852, this was built immediately, and it was here that the construction of the Central Pacific Railroad began in 1863. Right freaking here. This building has 2 stories and a basement. 2 stories and a basement. Sorry. This one I'm referring to. It states that the decorative molded plasterwork is somewhat damaged, but still indicates the remarkable skill of the art of the designer / craftsman who produced it. It was apparently formed with successive layers of sand lime plaster, reinforced with layers of burlap, and in some place projecting 2.5 feet or more. The original roof was supported by wood joints, which was laid, and on this was laid a common brick course. The bricks were topped with
half an inch of mortar, and covered with sheet metal, applied with interlocked seams, producing a fireproof roof, which would resist flying sparks from adjacent fires. No idea if that's a common thing or not, having a metal roof. I just don't know. Damn, get off my butt. Not you freaking know either. Next door, of course, we have the Bee Building. 1856, housing the Daily and Weekly Bee, as in the Sacramento Bee. Which is exactly what it became. In 1902, newspaper man always get the rooms. This is the Ocean Shower Building, built in 1852. Probably the oldest existing building in this area of Sacramento. Constructed at a lower level, the entire structure was elevated when the street was raised. Ah, yes, of course. How exactly did they raise the street, I'd like to know. Admirable that back then they would even try these lies. Now they don't even have to. They just tell the truth and no one believes them. Or they tell you like, wow, they're doing the thing, and somebody's be like, look, it says anti-fascist. Yes, but the behavior is literally what fascism is. But it says anti-fascist. And they drool all over your sandwich, and you're like, oh, God, I hate this place. But that's neither here nor there. Of course, the banking house, the telegraph, of course. All these fine facades and brick interiors and exteriors and cast iron and all of these things. Just not sure what's going on here. That doesn't look like fruit to me. And the most popular place in town still seems to be the Lucky Bottle Shop, where the men just are milling about, apparently drinking booze on the side. Gotta like that. Courtroom up top, bottle shop down below. You're a strange place right now, Sacramento, and in a bank right here. Drink, go to court, come over here to the bank, pay your fines. Cycle repeats itself. And, okay. And this is the Albert Gallatin residence. And wowie. What do we got up here? Some little Space Needle type things? What's going on here, buddy? You want to share with the rest of the class? Or are you going to keep all this wealth and splendor to yourself? You spoiled bastard. Tell him, Ma. And just look at that starfort shape right there. Just look at the opulence of this place. Unbelievable. This house was where the governors lived. That's right. All of them together. Like a happy family. Like the Brady Bunch. Or like the Shady Bunch. Futuristic fireplace. But really, little pharaohs here. What's the deal with that? And, wow. That is Eagle. That's right. That's better. Just look at it. Would you just look at it? And then boom! What in the actual fuck is that? That, children, was the day that the bomb went off. The fire in 1852 looks like it was a nuclear strike, if that painting's anything to be. This reminds me of King Tut's Cavern. I'm pretty sure that a lot of those pharaohs didn't have all those treasures in with them when they died. You see the photographs of that? It looks like just a bunch of stuff jammed in there. I think that they were just using that room, the original archaeologists, as a storeroom for the treasure they were going to steal later. And then finally, it got discovered, and someone was like, whoa, when are we going to open this one? And they're like, oh, they had to open it. So they just made the best of it. They're like, oh my God, it's not some little club-footed little kid in here that died. Hey, this is a pharaoh. Look at all the stuff they had inside of his cell. And that's how it started. That'd be my guess. Because it looks like some of this stuff is just piled up these places, you know? Like they just go inside and like they found all these buried places and just took all their stuff. I mean, you think about even some of the gold they took. And the word itself, mine. People are mining inside of mountains. How do they know even where to dig? Some places, unless they could tell it was an old structure or something, and they're actually going in and stealing other people's old treasure and melting it down into bricks. I don't know, just an idea, but the idea that the name mine is pretty telling, and the fact that you call it a claim, like you claim the mine, it's just I don't know, this might be something there. You might could think about that. This is a pretty ridiculous governor's mansion in 1862 to have all this wealth. Well, I'm just a lowly servant of the people. I'm just a government of California. Why? I would never take it. I mean, I just live just like every man. I have my pantsuit stitched on me one thread at a time by the world's finest tailors, just like everybody. My foyer happens to have inside of it some redwood paneling and intricate Victorian-era fittings, and the supplemental data says that this guy used artificial stone to replace the wooden sidewalks. Artificial stone. In 1878. Artificial stone. Really. So while the governors live like this is described as on the second floor alone, actually the third, it says in parentheses, because of course the basement, there are 6 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms. Fine cast plaster ornaments of animals, real and fantastic, are used on the door frames. There was iron cresting on the house, which was removed before the Second World War. There's a gazebo, which was dismantled, a swimming pool, and all of this looking, well, this looks like some speakers. This looks like a space jukebox, this whole thing. And really, really opulent and really wonderful. Good for you, Governor. No, really. No, good, no, really, I mean it. Good for
you. And look, here they are building the post office. There it is. Overnight. We did it. We did it. And here we are. These 5 guys here built the entire post office, which we're told looks like this. That's right. There they are. Look at them. Yup. We're just out here digging away. Gonna build us here post office. One people will remember. Yeah, sure. Are you the same guys that built the Count of Bodie? Same man. Well, I recognize your work, and it's not this. This here's a house, no known date of erection. I did not make that up. It says on the card. No known date of erection. Well, I should hope you don't keep a calendar for that sort of thing, you know. That there's a real beaut. And all very classical looking. This one, plastered brick, built in 1853, remodeled 1959 as a restaurant, a cupola and not restored. I don't even see one. Described as the oldest firehouse in California. Described as. Doesn't mean it's true, people. I'm described as being the most handsome in all the land. Actually, I've never been described that way. So yeah, maybe it's not like that. But I realize I can do this all night, but it's the ADD generation. And if I'm to continue to do so, it will simply be a deterrent on the open promotion of awesome architecture in Sacramento. Because it is awesome. However, the backstories leave much to be desired. We will pick up where I left off very soon. America and other continents. I love you all. There, I said it. Now I'm leaving now. I'll see you soon.